Hey guys, what's going on? Voodoo here, and for those people who on my last video that I made where I talked about why I unsubscribed from DSP Gaming who left negative comments because I didn't say my real name. Well, my real name is Josh. I don't know why that's important, but there it is. Regardless, I'm here tonight actually because I'm going to be filming a response/reaction video to a podcast interview that I literally just got done watching. It was an interview conducted by two guys. The main guy was KainBringingthePain's on YouTube, otherwise known as Nate, and his friend Anthony. They had a podcast tonight where they did an interview of DSP. So this is kind of a follow-up to the why I unsubscribed from DSP Gaming video. Because I went on tonight to watch this podcast, and there was a little bit of hype built up previous to this podcast discussing, that this was going to be the podcast where they were going to get on Phil, ask him the tough questions, stick it to him, and do all this kind of stuff. This was going to be the first time Phil was going to have to answer the tough questions in person. Or to a live voice instead of in his own videos or in comments. So it was kind of propped up to be kind of a big interview. So the first thing I want to say is that I thought the show was very good. I thought it was run very well, very professionally done by Nate and Anthony. You can tell that these guys knew what they were doing, that they had done this kind of stuff before. They didn't look at all intimidated by DSP and kind of his popularity. They didn't seem to be affected by that. They did the interview very professionally and went along fine. So I do want to give them credit because it was a well done interview. And really, the interview wasn't what I think a lot of people were maybe hoping it would be, which was a lot of sticking it to Phil, a lot of no, you need to listen, and this is what the fans have a problem with, and respond, and all this other kind of stuff. It really wasn't like that. Now, I'm on both sides of the fence. I can agree with some people that maybe, it maybe could have been a little bit more of an interrogation, a little bit more of a kind of a driving thing, like these questions, you need to answer these questions, you can't talk your way out of it, you need to address these type of things. But I can also see their side of it, because you got to understand that for these guys to get Phil on is a big deal for their podcast, and it brought a lot of people to the stream, over 500 people to the stream, and they have to also be professional, and what they don't want to do is, maybe they want to have Phil back at a later date. They don't want to drive him away and scare him from ever coming back on the show. They don't want to come off as haters of DSP. They don't want to do that kind of stuff. They have to run their podcast. They have to maintain the integrity of their podcast. And for someone like myself, who does also run a podcast with, with my friend Brandon, I completely understand the complexity of having guests on a podcast. Even though you may feel a certain way or you want to get something done, you can't always do that in the context of the podcast. You have to feed off the other person, all that kind of stuff. So I completely understand from their perspective why they didn't go as hard maybe as some other people wanted them to, or maybe they themselves also wanted to, but in the context of the show it wasn't appropriate. So because I run my own podcast and also that kind of stuff, I completely get it and I understand that. So I want to get that out of the way. Now, as far as my reactions to DSP's responses to some of the questions, and really, I should have taken notes, and I didn't, because I actually didn't realize that there was going to be a whole second session to the show where they actually didn't talk about DSP, and they had actually a really good conversation about game reviews and how they're done and such. I actually they were taking callers. I tried to get a call in, but they weren't able to get me in because they were running late on time, which is, I completely understand. Because I had a few things I wanted to say about Phil and game reviews, since, again, game reviews are a big thing here on my channel as well. But as far as the interview, I'm going to try to remember some of the questions that they asked him. First of all, straight off the bat, I am surprised that Phil did this podcast. Normally, it's not in his nature to do a podcast with someone who's not very famous for doing podcasts and that type of stuff. He usually doesn't grant these types of interviews, and I'm very surprised actually, that he came on a podcast knowing that he was going to get questions that were not going to be kissing his ass. So I'm surprised that he did it, okay? Now, that being said, he came onto the show with stipulations to where he would not talk about certain issues. The two that I know about would be Chris and Teo, Mighty Furtado. He would not talk about that, and he would not talk about Evil AJ 2010. Now, first of all, to me, this puts up red flags, as in, why do you refuse to talk about these topics in this podcast? This is clearly two of the most controversial things going on with your community and with your channel right now, and yet you come on a podcast knowing you're going to get some difficult questions, but you refuse to answer questions about the most important topics that people want you to answer live with an audience there watching you. So to me, that was not very brave of him, and I didn't respect that. If you're going to go on the podcast, you should be open and honest, and if you feel as strongly as you feel about those two subjects, you should be able to, on a podcast, come out and express those same feelings. You should not refuse to talk about them. You should address them, because it's disrespectful, again, to the fans who want answers to these questions, and you just refuse to do it. So right off the bat, for me, that was a problem. But they did ask him questions. Mainly, they did bring up the issue with his Twitter problem with Minecraft, what he said about Minecraft, that I addressed very much in my previous video. And basically, his response to that was, it was excuses bundled with an apology. It was a lot of excuses about how it didn't come across the way he meant it to come across because it's on Twitter and there's only certain, there's a character limit, and he goes into all of this about why it wasn't really his fault because, it didn't come out the way he wanted it to. And then basically offered an apology to the people that he offended, and he wasn't trying to say this kind of stuff, which is all fine and good. My issues and the stuff that, even though I use that as a specific example, you got to keep in mind that's because that was something that was happening in the moment. That night it had happened on Twitter, and I used it as a perfect example for my video. But my problems run way deeper than just that one Minecraft incident, because incidents like that happen all the time on Twitter. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying that it didn't come across the way he wanted it to come across. I think it came across exactly the way he wanted it to. Because I've seen him not on Twitter, I've seen him in gameplay videos, I've seen him on vlogs express the same exact kind of sentiments toward other people who have different opinions than him. So the fact that, it came across that way on Twitter, I don't think that it was a mistake. I think that's exactly what he wanted to portray. I mean, he said certain words in those tweets, such as accusing people who play Minecraft of wasting hours on shit, outright saying that everything with a story is better than Minecraft, and all this kind of stuff. To me, there's no way of getting out of that and saying it didn't come across the way I wanted it to. There's certain things that were said in the tweets, there was certain phrasing that was done in the tweet that, to me, was intentional and was not taken out of context. That's just my opinion on the matter. They did actually ask Phil about my video, which I was very interested in when they asked him. I didn't know they were going to do that. Phil came back and responded that he had not seen my video. He said that I haven't sent him the video. Well, I have no intentions of sending him the video. In fact, 2 years ago, I never sent him the video that I made where I was praising him and defending him against all of his critics back in 2011. That was my friend that sent him the video. And I have no intentions of sending him this video as well. Actually, right now, if you search DSP Gaming on YouTube, it's his channel, and then my video comes right after his. So if he's interested, it's very easy to see my video. If any of you guys want to send him my video, you're more than welcome. You have my permission to do so. But I have no intentions of sending him my video. It's not... I made the video for me, for my channel, to express my opinions. I don't need to send it to him. If he's interested in seeing it, it's easy to watch. All he's got to do is type in DSP Gaming on YouTube, and the first video that comes up is mine. So he claims he didn't see the video, and that was basically all there was, because again, you know, and he went into and said, well, the troll campaign is starting and all this other kind of stuff, and Nate and Anthony did a good job of telling him that, no, you know, I thank them because they stood up for me and said, no, this guy is not a troll, he's not a hater, you know, his video was just criticizing. He even held up a shirt that he bought from you, which I did. So they were trying to tell him, like, no, it's not just another one of those videos, but I don't think he ever really got that point. I don't think he really cares much, talking about Phil here, about that. So it is what it is. I mean, if Phil sees the video, great. If he doesn't, it's great too. It doesn't particularly bother me. I was kind of hoping he had seen the video because I wanted to see what his direct response to that would have been, but I didn't get that. But basically, in general, about his answers to some of the other questions, they talked a little bit about, they tried to explain to him, like, it's a lot of the negativity that's been going on that people don't like and all this other kind of stuff. And he addressed it and basically came out and said, yeah, it has been negative, but it's because of this and this and this year. You know, I wanted to move, and then I took a pay cut, so I can't move, and all this other stuff. And I've been letting, and see, this is the thing, is he talks about, well, I've been letting the haters, you know, I've been letting people's hate and all that other kind of stuff get to me, and he's just completely missing the boat. And like I said, if there was one thing I thought maybe they could have done a little bit better on the podcast, it was enforcing and not letting DSP get away with missing the point of saying, no, DSP, we're not talking about haters. We're not talking about trolls. Because he kept saying that, well, I've been letting people get to me, and so I've been more hateful and all this other kind of stuff. Completely missing the boat that the point is he's being hateful and spiteful to people who are offering legitimate criticisms, not people who are haters and trolls. And I thought, like I said, maybe the one thing they could have done better is not letting him get away with that and say, no, DSP, we're talking about people who have legitimate criticisms, not people who are hating on you for the sake of hating, who are trolling on you. We're talking about the negativity you show towards your fans, to your people who are not trying to hate on you. They're offering comments, and if they don't agree with something, they offer criticisms. Those are the kind of people that the negativity, if he wants to have negativity toward people who are legitimate trolls, I don't care, because legitimate trolls deserve to have negativity placed against them, because legitimate trolls are worthless. But we're talking about legitimate fans, people who've been fans of you for years, and who offer one criticism, don't use a swear word, don't call you any name, don't say anything, offer fair criticisms, and you basically, you know, come back at them with negativity. And there was a point where Kain, or Nate, actually brings up a comment that he left on one of DSP's videos. And it was a long time ago, because these two games are long, and I forget, it was a dual Hateful Truth that he did on Gears of War 2, I think, and some other game, I don't remember. And literally, Kain brought this to his face, which I applaud Kain for doing, and he put it on the screen, and Kain's comment was basically that, I don't like the fact that you did a dual review. I don't think that it was thorough enough, because you had to cram both games into one video. I think it would have been better if you would have just split the reviews in two. And then underneath it, he has DSP's comment, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing, but I know that at the bottom it sounds something like, why don't you go off and die, and all this other kind of stuff. And Kain's like, showing Phil, he's like, listen, this is the comment, okay? And he's like, Phil, you told me to go die, you know, and he's kind of laughing about it, like, and Phil's like, yeah, you know, that's what I said. Like, Phil's just not apologetic. He doesn't care. He just looks at it and says, yeah, that's what I did. That's what I sent. And Kain's like, well, what, you basically, like, what the hell's the point of that? Like, why would you tell me that? And Phil's like, oh, because I don't appreciate your comment on my video, and so, like, he's gone. There's no hope. I already got a message from somebody asking me if I thought that there was any redeeming quality to this interview, and my answer is flat out no. It's the same old Phil. He is completely he's locked in this mode of people who disagree with me and people who don't like what I do are haters, trolls, they're worthless human beings, and they're here to hurt me, and I need to attack them. I'm in attack mode For everybody who disagrees with me, attack, attack, attack. Be vicious, be malicious. Do all this kind of stuff to these people. That's the kind of mode he's locked in. He's got the blinders on. He can't see the forest for the trees. He doesn't understand that the people who are having these criticisms, this type of stuff, are people who have been longtime fans, who used to love Phil, who got Phil where he is today, who still want to love him, like myself. I don't want Phil to be this way. I want to still enjoy Phil's content. I still do enjoy Phil's old content from his DarksydePhil channel and early DSP gaming. I still enjoy that. I would still watch that because that was entertaining. That was Phil back then. Now it's just a hateful, vicious Phil that just is not the same person. And you can tell from this interview, you can tell from the answers that he gives, that he's completely locked in this mode of not understanding the difference between haters and trolls and legitimate fans with legitimate concerns and criticism. He just doesn't understand the difference. To him, that is a foreign concept, and it's not getting through. And the fact that Kain could put up a comment like that, I mean, let me tell you something right now. If I ever put a comment like that to somebody who, I wouldn't put a comment like that to anybody, to go tell anybody to go die. I would never do that, okay, to anyone, no matter what they said. If it was that bad, I would just laugh it off and block them if the comment was that bad. But if anybody, for a legitimate concern or a legitimate statement, just because Kain didn't like the fact that Phil made one video, he thought he should have been 2 separate ones, and I saw that I had left that kind of comment on somebody, answering somebody with a legitimate comment towards myself, and someone showed me that, I would be so embarrassed, and I would be like, dude, listen, man, I'm way sorry. You know, I don't know what was wrong with me that day. I was way overboard. I'm sorry for telling you that. I should have never said that. Phil's response? Yep, that's what I told you. That's what I said because I didn't like how you just completely unfazed by it. And it amazes me because this is not the same person that I feel like that I used to know on YouTube. I just don't feel like that's the same person. It's a stone cold person. It's someone who's not really feeling towards other people. It's all about myself, and if I don't like something, I'm going to hurt everybody else, and it's just not right. So I need to check my time here, but one of the things I want to close off by saying is that I thought really that this interview was a tremendous opportunity for Phil. This was the opportunity of a lifetime for DSP to completely turn around, and I mean this, to completely turn around the negative stuff going on in his channel right now and to potentially revive his career. Because this was an opportunity for him to be on a podcast that a lot of people knew about, that's going to be watched after it's uploaded to YouTube by many more people. This was a chance for Phil to come on the podcast and basically just open up and admit and say, listen guys, I am sorry. I'm sorry for the way that I have been acting. I know it's not right. This year's been stressful for me. I'm making less money now. I wanted to move. I can't. It put a stop on a lot of my plans. I'm very stressed out right now trying to find out what games people are interested in and blah, blah, blah. And it got to me this year, and I've been overreacting, saying hurtful things to people, and I apologize for it, and I'm going to make a concerted effort from here on out to go back to the way I was, to where I'm not this hateful person, to where I can accept criticism, and to where I will at least, I don't have to follow everything you guys offer, but I will at least think about it and consider it and maybe make some changes. This was if Phil had gone on this podcast and said that, there would have been such a massive celebration across his community. His negative image would begin to immediately turn around. This podcast would have gotten so much buzz, so much good attention, good anticipation of people saying, the light has come on, Phil finally understands and realizes that he's been just making a huge mistake. He's been way out of line. He's apologizing. He says he's going to make an effort to really change things. Let's give this guy another chance to see what he's got. Phil did none of this. He did none of it. He had an opportunity to potentially reopen the door to his career here and really start turning things around. and I feel like he just threw it on the floor. For him, it was a very generic interview. His answers were again, a lot of him trying to talk his way out of stuff, making excuses for why he's done certain things. His apologies to me seemed empty, and really, the thing that did it for me was the fact that his response to Kain and the comment that Phil made to Kain when Kain put it up on the freaking screen, and Phil just looking at that comment. And again, I don't remember the whole comment because I didn't read it all, but I know at the end it ended with something like, "Why don't you go off and die?" or something like that. You professional troll, or something like this. And Phil's reaction even now is just, "Hey, you know what? It is what it is. I didn't like the answer, so I told you to go die." And he never said "I'm sorry" for that comment to Kain, not once. So no, it doesn't give me any renewed hope. If anything, it just reaffirms my decision to unsubscribe. And with that kind of attitude, I think him and his channel are doomed. And it's a sad thing. I don't want it to happen. I think maybe a common misconception on the video that I made, the last video I made, was that I wanted Phil to fail, and I want Phil. It's not the case. I don't want Phil to fail. What I want is for Phil to become a better person, and I want Phil to go back to what Phil was in 2009 and 2010. That's what I want Phil to be. And I said, yeah, I recommend people unsubscribe, because in his current state, yeah, people shouldn't be subscribed to somebody like that. They shouldn't. It's not right. People don't deserve to be treated like that, and I don't care if it's the internet or in person. I don't care where it is. People always say, well, it's the internet, so I don't care about that. That's not an excuse for me. People are people. There's no reason to treat somebody any differently because it's on the internet than it is in real life. I hate that excuse. I really hate that excuse. It's the internet. People use that excuse for not knowing how to spell, not knowing how to use the English language because it's the internet. Like, that makes any kind of sense. And people use that excuse to be just mean and vicious toward fellow human beings, and they say, oh, it's just because of the internet. I don't buy that excuse. I never have. I think it's a worthless excuse, and it's a cop-out. People don't deserve to be treated the way he treats his subscribers and the things that he tells them, like go off and die. It's just not appropriate, and nobody deserves to take that. So yeah, Phil, the way he is now and the current state of his channel, I recommend people unsubscribe from that. If nothing else, then to send him a message to say, this is unacceptable and you can't treat people like this, and you know, and so yeah, but I don't want him to fail. I don't want him to continue to be this person. I want to go back and start enjoying his content again, and to be able to be a part of his community again, and to like him. But I can't. There's no way I can like somebody right now who acts like this. I just can't. So yeah, that's my reactions to the interview. A couple of plugs. The interview will be uploaded to Kain's YouTube channel, which is called KainBringingthePain. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description of this video. The podcast was actually a running series of podcasts he does every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is called Gamer Talk Live, I want to say. Which is... Hold on, I'm getting a phone call real quick. Let me just make sure this isn't... Okay. It's called Gamer Talk Live. His Twitch account is twitch.tv/ KainBringingthePain Live. So if you want to check out his future episodes of that podcast, go ahead and check it out Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, I want to thank Kain/Nate, however he likes to go by, for promoting my video, for talking about it. He made a video where he promoted my video in it, so I want to thank him for that. I want to thank him for at least asking Phil about my video, and you know, even though Phil didn't see it, I want to thank him for at least asking the question and then defending me to Phil and telling Phil that no, I'm not a hater, I'm not a troll. I have a freaking shirt, you know what I mean? Like, I used to be a very big time fan, and now I'm disgusted by his attitude. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Really, in reaction, watch the interview and then let me know what you think about your reactions to his answers. But one last thing before I go, yes, Panda Lee was in the stream, and yes, she was being annoying and talking about all kinds of stuff completely unrelated to the interview or the podcast, per usual. One of the last comments I saw about her was she was off talking about friends with benefits. So I don't know. That's Panda for you. She won't even do it on his videos. Then she has to go to Kain's channel when they're doing an interview and talk nonsense in that stream too. So anyway, that was really annoying. So I stopped reading the chat for a little while because I couldn't take it. But once again, props to Kain and Anthony for the show. Thought it was well done. And that's all I have to say. So thanks, guys. Be sure to go watch the interview on Kain's channel. And yeah, I'll be seeing you next time. So until then, peace out.